Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. I want to give you a small update on the current protests that have started in Germany. Working people have started to stand up against this insane government of ours that needs a lot of money in order to subsidize our dear allies in the Ukraine and also in Israel, and also all these irregular party travelers, all these all-inclusive club tourists that we are hosting here in Germany. I would say it's about 5 million of them, a lot of single mothers from Ukraine, and a lot of men that could be fighting in Ukraine, but that prefer to go partying in Germany while we pay for all of their expenses for their club holiday vacation. Yeah, and I think you know a couple of other very, very important um, yeah, missions and projects of our dear elites here in Germany. It is not too dissimilar to other Western countries, in fact. So, tens of billions or hundreds of billions of euros are needed for these purposes, and that is why our government is increasing or has increased the tax load that is already almost top of the world here in Germany. This January, the beginning of the year 2024, marks another yeah, point in time where the tax load of the German working families are increased crazily. And in particular, I told you about that, for our farmers here in Germany, the tax load has been increased drastically. And other than other workers, or the farmers and also the train conductors, and this time also logistics workers, that means truck drivers mostly, but also employees in logistics centers, they are supporting these protests, which means that the farmers with their tractors, for example, their large agricultural vehicles, are blocking entrances and exits of German federal roads and autobahns, our interstates here in Germany basically, and also they are blocking logistics centers of our distribution centers and storehouses for our supermarkets, for example. I think Aldi is one of these supermarket chains, and their supply and logistics centers are also being closed down, so to speak. Also, city centers and major hubs and local centers are also being locked down by these trucks and these tractors. So as far as I understood, this morning in Germany, in many places in all states of Germany, life came to a halt. And yeah, as I said, the train conductors will also go on strike this week. And this will not only be today on Monday, but it will last the entire week, as I understood. And the support in the wider population is huge, especially among people who live in rural areas. City folk and people who are public servants in the administration, they don't really support this protest as far as I have understood, especially the Green Party, but basically all established German parties are really speaking very nastily about these farmers who are growing our food, which is completely insane, especially the Green Party. The Green Party was the party that was the harshest. They said that these are right-wing extremists and they are enemies of the state and stuff like that. And that must have legal consequences for these protesters. Bear in mind that they didn't have any problem with these school strikes or these climate people who glued themselves on the road or who tried to destroy priceless works of art in European museums. Now, that was no problem for them. And especially when these climate protesters didn't let ambulances through, for example, yeah, or firefighters, yeah, then it was especially not a big deal for Mr. Habeck, for example. But we have seen many videos from today where the farmers um, with their tractors made or they cleared the space, they cleared the road for first responders, for firefighters. They communicate well with law enforcement, and they let ambulances through. And even the head of the German police union, he really spoke out very positively about the farmer protests, saying that they are communicating well with law enforcement and that they are really all these protests were announced and everything is done by the books, everything great. And he said that there is no comparison to these climate protests. Um, None of that criminal energy, none of this lawlessness that we saw there. So the Green Party is, yeah, they're pretty much the only ones who are speaking that harshly about the farmers. But the other parties are also not big fans of that. And especially because they say that right-wing elements are trying to infiltrate these protests. Well, it is just the case that among German workers, and that includes farmers, the people who work for a living, yeah, to feed their families and to keep society running. Among these people, there are just a lot of people who are right wing and who are supporting, for example, the AfD. So this is it's just a very common correlation, as I've showed countless times in my videos where I break down polls or voting results depending on occupation or education level. Yeah, the working class is the biggest supporter of the AfD. So yeah, of course there will be AfD supporters when you have actual working people going on strike, because actually working people are right wing predominantly in Germany. That's just in the nature of the thing. They're not useless administrators. They're not working for non-profit NGOs or something, and they're not students in the 25th semester. Yeah, they're pretty right wing, and they're really fed up. Okay, yeah, and of course the entire mainstream media is basically. People in Western Germany, they don't really realize that, but people in Central Germany, in Mitteldeutschland, they really, the older ones at least, they must know the kind of talk from the GDR. Yeah, the word Hetze is used, for example. That means, yeah, something like hate speech or something like that. But back then, that was used to describe people who criticized the government. Yeah, staatsfeindliche Hetze, for example. That was a punishable offense in the communist dictatorship of the GDR, the DDR. And this word made it back now, and now the mainstream media and the SPD, the CDU, the Green Party, the FDP, Die Linke, all these established globalist parties, they are using this vocabulary from the communist dictatorship of the GDR, Central Germany. And the only political parties that have spoken out, or the major ones, there might be smaller ones too, but the only two major parties in Germany that have shown support for these protests now are the AfD and the Free Voters, die Freien Wähler. The other parties have not done so. So it is very clear who stands where, and we will see where this leads to. So far, everything was peaceful, everything was orderly, and once again, there is a lot of support from the population, even from abroad. I heard that Polish truck drivers are supporting the actions here in Germany, are supporting our workers here, our farmers, and yeah, so they are locking down the country. And many factories also have stopped working because the workers can't come to their shifts, and maybe they can't move material in and out. So a lot, also our industrial production is affected by that, of course. And I think you can pretty much forget about traveling unless you can use some rural road, but that takes forever then. Yeah, so that is the status of today at the time concerning the protests. I will keep you updated if something seriously changes, but that is what I have by now. So I told you what the political parties say, what the mainstream media says, and what our friends in law enforcement had to say. The farmers want, of course, that all these tax increases will be completely taken back, yeah, that they don't have to pay even higher taxes. And there are a lot of these people in their urban bubbles now who are interviewed by the mainstream media saying, aren't these farmers rich enough as it is? Shouldn't we spend the money in Africa, or shouldn't we give it to Israel or Ukraine? Isn't that better than giving it to rich right-wing German farmers? Yeah, well, then you get your superfood imported by, yeah, or from Brazil, or I don't know, Paraguay, instead of eating food that is grown in your own country. Yeah? How environmentalist of these urban left-wingers, these progressives. Anyway, so that's my little update from Germany. Yeah, I keep you informed, as I said. Enjoy the rest of your day. Servus, Kameraden.